Irrigation controllers, or timers, makes using water wisely easy. The irrigation controller is like the brains of your irrigation systems. It tells us when we want the water to come on and for how long. To help use our water wisely, we need to understand how our irrigation controller works. Different features and functions help to program for water savings. So when we get to our controller, the first thing we need to do is tell the controller what day we're on right now. So we turn to our day and time. Using the plus and minus buttons, I change my year. Once I'm at the correct year, I use my field changer. I use my right arrow. The next thing we see is that the month is blinking. Using my up and down arrows, I can set the month. Then I use my next field arrow and it will take me over to my date. And on this date, I just push the up or down arrow until I'm on today's date. Then I again use my arrow to navigate to the next field, which is going to change the time. So now I've got a time set. It's going to ask me, do I want AM and PM or do I want 24-hour clock? Using my plus or minus, I can change that. So right now we're in the 24-hour clock. If I press it again, I will go back to my 12-hour clock. So now I've set my AM and PM. I use my right arrow and I can set the time. Using my plus or minus, I set my time. I use my arrow. I'm back to my minutes and now I'm back to my year. So I've set everything I need to. I then go back to run. Often terms in the industry are used interchangeably. Things like valves, zones, or stations. All three of these terms refer to the same thing. We're ready to program our controller. Our controller is capable of handling up to 3 different programs, an A, B, or C. So our A program may be just for the lawns. Our B program may be for our vegetable gardens. Our C program may be for our shrub gardens. All programs are set the same. So we're going to set program A just to handle our lawns for now, and then we'll go back and look to see if we need program B and program C. Under program A, for our lawns, first thing we need to do is tell it when we want that program to start. So I turn my dial to my run times, and on each station it's going to have my station indicator. It's going to say station 1. I use my up and down arrows to set how long I want it to operate. So if I set it for 10 minutes, when that one is set, I go to my second station. By using my right-hand arrow, it automatically takes me to the second station, and I set my time there for how long I want it to operate. This one I may want it to operate for 6 minutes. So I use that arrow to keep going through all my stations until everyone has time on it that I want to operate under this program. We've set our start time. Our start time is going to go to each station and see how long that station wants to run. It is automatically going to go from station 1 to station 2, automatically from station 2 to station 3 throughout the whole cycle of valves that we have run time on. We've now set our start time and our run time. We now need to tell it what days we want it to actually operate. So we're going to turn to our watering days. Under our watering days, we're going to plus or minus depending on whether I want it to operate. So, do I want it to operate Monday? No. So I minus it off. I will see a symbol that indicates that we're not watering that day. Just by hitting the plus and minus and hitting the forward arrow button, I can change each one of these days to on or off. This is how I set my 2 days per week watering. Our water budget is going to allow for a lot of water savings. We know that we require 1 inch at the height of the season. In May, we don't require that much. So if we started in May at 50%, As we went into June and early July, we may increase that percentage up to 75 to 80%. To do that, we just push our up button and change the number. We also need to know how much water is being applied. To determine this, we can put containers out over our property, run for a given amount of time, and measure how much water is collected. How often we operate our system is dependent on our soil type. Water will move more quickly through sandy soils. To help reduce water wastage, use the cycle and soak method. Cycle and soak is a method of running our sprinkler systems to reduce runoff. We run our sprinklers for a short period of time, allowing the water to absorb into the soil, then rerunning them after a wait period up to our maximum requirement for our plant. Think of it as the soil sipping the water. So on our program, we had determined that we needed 10 minutes of operating time. To cycle and soak, what we're going to do is put in a second start time and reduce the run time of our sprinklers. So we turn our dial to start times. We already have a 4 o'clock start time in under 1. Using our arrow, we go to our second start time. We want this one to start about an hour later to allow soak time and my irrigation to finish. Using my plus button, I put in a 5 o'clock start time. We need to remember that this start time is going to start a cycle of stations as it operates. I now go to my run time. At my run time, I need to cut the time in half because I'm now going to have it operating twice. And I do this for every station that I'm going to operate. That's how we cycle and soak. So now what I've told the controller is that at 4 o'clock in the morning, I want you to come on and run station 1 for 5 minutes. When you're finished with station 1, I want you to go to station 2 and run for 3 minutes. Then I want you to wait for a bit. And at 5 o'clock, I want you to turn station 1 on for 5 minutes and station 2 on for 3 minutes. Overall, I'm getting the same maximum watering time that my plant requires, but I'm allowing it to soak into the soil. Now that we've set program A for our lawns, we may want to run our vegetable gardens differently. For this, we're going to change programs. So if I go to a B program, I just push this button. It will now change it to a B program. Under the B program, I now go in and set the run times that I want per station and the time I want it to start. Same as what I did for program A. Once we have our controller set, it's really important to remember how we set it. So what we want to ensure we do is every controller comes with a schedule. On this schedule, we write down exactly what we've done. So I'm going to record the days I'm operating, the times I'm operating, and the start time. Then I can leave this with my controller and have a reference all summer. Another item that will actually help us save water is a rain sensor. A rain sensor will actually interrupt the irrigation controller and shut it off in the event of rain. Over the next few days, the sensor will dry out, and when it is dry, it will allow the controller to come back on and operate our irrigation system normally. What we've talked about today is a traditional irrigation controller. It allows you to set and operate your irrigation system. There's new equipment coming out into the marketplace that's operated on Wi-Fi. This Wi-Fi will actually talk to weather stations and do some of the automatic programming for you. Just keep an eye on it and make sure that if you are in a microclimate, it's being adjusted as per the weather conditions on your site. Other equipment that's available for irrigation systems are remote controllers. A remote will have a communication device that goes from your controller to a handheld device. Where this becomes most useful and most effective in water savings is if I'm doing maintenance. I can turn my sprinklers on and off from a handheld remote, very similar to what a TV remote is, And now my sprinklers aren't running as long. So if I'm doing maintenance or I'm working in the garden, I don't have to run back to my controller to turn things on and off. Operating your controller effectively will help you have healthier plants and save water. To learn more about how to use water wisely, check out the CRD website.